Hi, I'm Bob Pryor. Today I'm going to be talking about the discussion board in Blackboard 9.1. First of all, let me go ahead and open up the course menu. And we're talking about communications. So let me scroll down to that. Here it is, the discussion board. Okay, this is our discussion board. And let me scroll down here just a little bit. You can see that so far we see 5 different forums. One is called the main forum, and it says here this is where most of our general conversations take place. Everybody has access to this main forum. The Math Help Forum, there's one for Chapter 1 and eventually there'll be one for Chapter 2 and so on. I do want to point out though something very important about this, and that is this is where we post math questions from the textbook. We do not post questions related to the quiz or test. That's because the quiz and test questions are supposed to be, well, let's face it, they're supposed to be secret. And if you have questions there, then send your professor an email, but do not post them here in the Math Help folder. And then we see 3 folders about the lessons, Lesson 0 discussion, Lesson 1 discussion, Lesson 2. Notice each of these says Group 2 after them. And that's because my student here, Nate, is in Group 2. Some students are in Group 1 and others in Group 3. And the reason I divide the class up this way is so that you're reading only a limited number of posts. You won't have to read from groups 1 and 3 and 4, etc., etc. I also want to point out that some of these forums here, these folders, are darkened, they're bold, and some are not. The ones that are bold are the ones that indeed have a message in them that you have not yet read. So Nate has not yet read the messages in the main folder and the Math Help folder and the Lesson 0 discussion folder. And as it turns out, there are no discussions posted in these 2 folders, so we don't need to get into these right now. Let's start by going to the main folder. Alright, we see that there's one discussion board post here. Let's click on that and open it up. And the professor writes, "Hi everyone, have you seen the spring-loaded lessons videos?" I know I have. It's a must-watch. Yeah, and if you haven't yet seen it, you can click here and watch the video for that. And then we have an option to reply if we want to, or if we click on quote, it's a reply, but it also has all the words from the professor's post here. Okay, let's choose not to reply at this point in time, and I'm going to scroll up, and we will come up here and click on discussion board. Notice that the main is no longer highlighted in bold. And that's because we've read the message that's there. Let's look in the Math Help Chapter 1 folder. And we see here that there is a post from Katie Bauer. And next to the title of this, we see a little plus sign. Let's click on that and see what happens. Notice that this next message is indented, and it's from the professor, and it must be a reply then to Katie's message. If we click on the minus sign, it collapses it into one thread. That's what it's called, a thread. An alternative to clicking the plus sign is to come over here to the far right and click expand all. And then we're able to see everything as well. And that's especially helpful when there are a lot of replies to a thread. Well, let's go ahead and click on Katie's post. And we can see the title of this post. She's asking a question from a certain page and a certain example or exercise. Let's scroll down a little bit. And notice how she is very clear about what's going on. She mentions the exercise, the page. She says that she got 64, but the book says it's negative 64. And then she writes, "Here's what I did." Now that's very helpful. Instead of just saying, "I have a problem with exercise 5 on that page." She wrote beyond that so that I can read it and you can read it and see what steps she took. And that will help me or you reply to her with the correct answer and answer her question that says, "What did I do wrong?" If we scroll down now, we can access the reply of the professor. Let's click on that. Let's scroll up and we can see that the professor wrote a reply, and a very thorough reply. And it was very helpful that Katie was able to explain her steps so that the professor had a chance and the other students would have a chance to know how to reply. Let's scroll back down to the original two messages. And maybe Nate wants to reply to Katie's message. So let's click on her message again, scroll back up and we'll see that. And he'll click reply. And I'll go ahead and pause it now and type Nate's reply. Okay, here's what Nate wrote. Hi Katie, glad you asked that. I got the same answer as you. And now we click submit. And if we now scroll down to the bottom of the page, we will see Nate's reply. Now let's say that Nate has his own question he wants to ask. Let's go back to up here, Forum Math Help, Chapter 1. If Nate has his own question, he can ask it by creating a new thread. And Nate's going to type in the subject. I'll go ahead and do that real quickly here. Nate has a question about number 3b on page 1.3-4. And here's what Nate asks. 2 minus 9 and he got negative 11. What did I do wrong? And click submit. Now at this point, Nate realizes what his mistake was. So he can actually go back to his own post. And he doesn't want anybody to see that he got it all figured out and he didn't need to post that at all. So he wants to actually delete it. And that is indeed possible. All he needs to do is come over here and click delete. Click OK. We'll scroll down and we'll see that his post is gone. Now I will mention that if he made that post and someone came in a little bit later and saw it and made a reply to it, he would not be allowed to delete it. He could only delete it because he caught it in time and knew that he didn't want to keep the post there. Alright, let's scroll up, go back to the discussion board. Now let's take a look at the Lesson 0 discussion. Of course, Nate is only going to be seeing it for his group. And we see that there are two discussions posted here, one from the professor, one from Katie, and the way these are stacked is the most recent on top. So let's go ahead and read the welcome from the professor. And we see this is just a general welcome to the folder. Okay, good. We don't need to reply to that at all. So let's go ahead and look at the next post. Here's Katie's post. And Katie writes that this is her 4th online class, her 2nd one in math. So if anyone has any questions, she'll do her best to answer. And then she has some great advice. Look at this. The one thing I've learned about online classes is how important it is to keep up with the class just about every day. She writes, "It is easy to get behind, but hard to catch up." That is so true. So it's so important for you to stay on task each week. Here's what she does. She says, "I write the due dates on my calendar at home and I put alerts on my cell phone too." All right, very good. And I see here that she thinks the book is good and the videos are helpful and she strongly recommends both. All right. Well, let's have Nate reply to that. And I'm going to purposefully make Nate do some spelling errors. So let's take a look at that in just a moment. Well, we can see what Nate wrote, and he's got a couple spelling errors, and he could do spell check if he wanted to, but he was kind of in a hurry and just wanted to get that written. Let me scroll up and submit. And now we can scroll down and click on what Nate wrote. It doesn't open it in a new window. Instead, we must scroll up, and there we see Nate's post. Now when he looks at his own post and says, "Oh my goodness, I got some spelling errors here, I want to fix that." Well, he can because we have an edit feature. Click edit, and his post comes up again and he can fix it. He can fix the capital A in Katie, and great advide. I don't think so. Okay, click submit. Now his post is all cleaned up. He could have added more if he wanted to. That's an option when you edit. You can recreate your own discussion post however you want. Okay, I'm going to scroll back up and click on discussion board. Now we just saw how Nate went into the Lesson 0 discussion. He did not post his own discussion. That's something he'll still have to do. But you can see that none of the forums are highlighted anymore. so he has actually read all of the discussion posts that were available to him. All right. Well, I hope this has been very helpful to you. If you have a question about the discussion board, well, I guess you can post a question in the main folder, or you can send the professor an email message. Oh, and one last thing. I recommend that you check the discussion board often to see what new posts there are and to keep in touch with your fellow classmates. All right. Have a good day now. Bye-bye.